I've got three big systems I need to build for Act 7. They're going to be kind of following us throughout Book 2. The first of them is the world map. And the world map is the paths of Elsewhere where you navigate from one place to the other. I wanted to kind of front load that because that's the biggest and riskiest part of what I need to do. And it was inspired by the map I made for Camelot, where Camelot itself is built in Incarnate. So let's have a look at that process. Now, we started off with this very rough map. The inspiration here is from Doggerland, which is the old uh, kind of 10,000 years ago or so, when the Ice Age was at its height. Because so much of the world's water was tied up in the glaciers, the land between Western Europe and England was actually dry. And this is likely how the first humans came into England. The idea is Tir na Nog and the ascension of the Fae happened about 10,000 years ago. And so this is the world they knew. And when they came in, they also crystallized and changed Elsewhere in various ways, to the point where it looks a lot more like what they think. For Incarnate, there's a couple of things you do. The first one is you set up the world by carving land from sea or sea from land. And the second thing you do is you then put down little brushes. So here I've got the trees as brushes, the mountains are brushes, whereas the underlying landscape is the base layer. What I'm trying to do here is I've got the deeper parts of the world, the ones that are kind of underwater now. I wanted to refer to them as kind of being a little bit more desolate. Obviously it's not done yet at this point, we've still got a whole bunch more decoration to do, but you can kind of see the direction it's going. So the next step was to take it into Unity and explore with it. My very first kind of take on it, I used Incarnate's own rivers, and I used the stamps from Incarnate to build the cities. There's Valhalla in the north, up where one of the fjords in Norway is. We've got Camelot in the south, surrounded by its two rivers. Tir na Nog over in the left in northwestern Ireland. I really didn't like the feeling of the rivers, so that's the first thing that's going to have to change. And I also thought the map areas looked very flat. This was the second experiment, so you can kind of see how by lifting it up and making it feel 3D, it's actually putting a little bit of parallax on the movement. I decided to go with the gem look in the end, so it kind of matches what I did for Camelot. The second thing was to redo the rivers. I wanted something that was a little bit more organic, flowed better. I probably put more work into this than I really should have, because the river actually animates, which I don't think anyone's ever going to notice because you're going to be zoomed too far out to actually see the movement of the river. But no, it was cute. It doesn't really cost anything, so that's fine. Here you see Camelot surrounded by its two rivers. Next thing to do now is we need to start adding the paths. So here you've now seen the basics of the road system. I'm still testing out the graphics of this, but I think this is starting to look quite close to where we're going to end up. And now to test out the movement, and it doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to have to fix that. Here on the right you can see Lancaster Glade, which is Katie's new home. The next thing to do was start to add critters, things that move around and animate in the world. I added dragons, I added clouds. There'll be variations on all of these just to make the world feel more lived in. You can see the clouds have shadows that drift across the terrain as they move. And hopefully I'll find other cool critters to put in as well, so we can have this idea that the whole world is animating and alive. So this step, it's starting to look very close to where we're going to go. You can see Edinburgh, the Glade. I felt it was a little bit clumsy to move around, so I added a pathfinding system. So now, if you click on any node that you can see, it will try to work out what's the best way to get there. Now I just need to fill this thing with content. It works the way it's supposed to.